station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
National Public Radio, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is National Public Radio. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. We're looking forward to talking to you today.
Hey, what time is it right now where you guys are?
You know, we work off of Greenwich Mean Time, so it's about 12:10. So it's about lunchtime for us.
Okay.
You know, I've seen a lot of images and video of what it's like up there. One thing I've always wondered, what does it smell like?
You know, we have this ongoing discussion about how do you capture a smell in words, and so it's really difficult to say. You know, yesterday Tim Peake was talking about how it smells sort of clinical. It's really hard to describe, but, you know, in general, the air is very well processed, and so once you've been here for a while, you don't smell anything to speak of. You know, Jeff just came the other day, and he said he had this distinct memory of having been here before because of the smell of Space Station.
When was the last time one of you guys sneezed?
You know, I think I've sneezed, a couple days ago. How about you, Tim, recently?
Yeah, up here, one of the things that can happen is you do actually get a bit congested because maybe it's because of the increased intracranial pressure in the head, and also dust floats in the atmosphere, unlike on Earth where all the dust gets sucked down to the floor because of gravity. So we do sneeze on board the station occasionally.
So when you sneeze, does that sneeze just blast into the atmosphere of the space station and just hang there?
You know, that goes back to the point that Tim made about us having a very good air circulation system here. So the airflow goes in a very definite direction with our extractor fans, and that cleans up the atmosphere for us.
I'm curious, are you, up there, are you able to pick out the constellations that we can see on Earth? Like, could you say, find the Big Dipper, or are there just too many stars to see it?
Oh, no, you can find the constellations because what we know of as the common constellations are much brighter than the other stars. And the same thing is up here. Even though we can see many, many more stars, the bright ones still stand out against the star field background. It's interesting, most of our windows point to the Earth, so we have very few windows that give us access to the star field, but the cupola is one of those places where you can see the star field about 20 degrees or so above the horizon. If you turn all the lights off and you're on the night side of the Earth, then you see this spectacular array of the stars.
So you guys are in space, you're in the space station. It's super cool for us to kind of contemplate that, but ultimately you're roommates. You have to share space. Do you guys have to fight over the music you listen to?
You know, we all get along famously well, and so we don't fight over the music. You know, we usually come to some sort of agreement on all the things that you have to share. And, unlike being college roommates crammed into a small apartment, we've got like this big house to live in, so it's pretty darn easy to get along and to share.
I wonder, do you have traditions or rituals that you go through to try and stay connected with your friends and family on Earth?
Yeah, we're very fortunate here on the space station. We have great communications with friends and family. We have some phone lines, so whenever we have satellite coverage, we can actually call our friends and family and speak to them from the space station. And once a week, we get a video conference as well with our families, which is great. You know, that's a really nice facility to have, and it helps keep us in touch with those back down on planet Earth.
As technology has improved, though, and communication has become easier, do you ever wish that it was more difficult to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. A little peace and quiet, huh? I think it's actually a great balance. And, as technology improves, we improve how we use it as well. So I think, we strike a balance. And, we have a variety of ways to communicate both with friends and family and also with the ground. And I think it works out well over time.
When you dream about work up there, what do you dream about?
So we just had a little sidebar conversation here. Jeff and Tim say they really don't dream much, And I think, the dreams here, I think, when you sleep at night, it's a similar pattern to being on Earth. There is sort of a transition for a lot of folks where their dreams transition from earthbound to floating. I think since we've been here for 100 days as of today, some of my dreams, I'm floating, some I'm back on Earth and remembering childhood memories and things like that. So it's like being on Earth, only this added flavor of having some dreams in zero gravity.
Have you guys ever been walking around, or I guess floating around in the space station and found something that shouldn't be there? Like, when you're at home, you might see a spider in the corner or something like that. Does that ever happen when you're floating in space?
Yes, it does happen quite a bit because obviously, things do float around up here. We try and keep everything tidy and shipshape and Velcro down. But for example, the other day I was doing a recorded video message and it was about 3 minutes long. I was almost at the end. Everything was going well. And a battery just floated right in front of me past the camera. So that kind of stuff can happen occasionally. But we try and keep everything tidied down. The other thing that's interesting I noticed as well the other day was something out the corner of my eye moving. And my first thought was it will be a fly or a mosquito or a bug. But of course, there are no insects up here. And it does take a while before you get used to that. There are no spiders, no bugs, no nothing.
I was looking at all these old photos that NASA had released of the Apollo missions. And everyone up there looked so normal. It looked like they were just living their lives. They just happened to be in space. I wonder if you have moments where you're just doing the day-to-day things you do, shaving, eating, and you suddenly remember where you are.
It's a very surreal environment in which to live because part of it is just like every day. You have to, get up in the morning and get ready, get cleaned up, have breakfast. But then every once in a while you realize that, hey, it's completely different in some respects. So I think, part of the fact that it's so strange here is that it feels so normal just to live and adapt to this very interesting environment.
When you're talking to older astronauts or astronauts that have, been doing this, or astronauts that were doing this, a long time ago, did they ever, talk about how they earned it more, how it was harder back then, and did they ever give you grief?
No, actually, it's just the opposite. When I have conversations anyway, speaking personally with some of the older folks, they greatly respect what we're doing now. Just a long duration, a continuous presence in space, over 15 years now, going on 15 and a half years of continuous presence, and everybody staying up here anywhere from a few months or a couple months to up to a year now. They have the utmost respect for what we're doing, and the feeling is mutual. We have a great camaraderie among the astronaut corps, current and former.
I'm curious, when you're back on Earth and you're at a party and talking to people and people are talking about their jobs, if you have to hold back, because I feel like once you say, "Oh, I'm an astronaut," the conversation is destroyed. You are the coolest person in the room, and no one can really follow up. You have to kind of pull back a bit.
It's a great observation because, I think we all consider this to be about the coolest job in the world. And sometimes when, you are at that cocktail party and that comes out that, this is our job, then it does really sort of change the topic completely. So It's just something to work through. If you really want to be the center of attention at a party, all you got to do is say what your job is, and it sort of steers the conversation. But I think most of us just prefer to try to blend in and be part of the group.
Would you ever go out in public wearing a spacesuit just so you wouldn't have to tell people you were an astronaut?
That would definitely not be my preference. But we have a lot of events where we go out in our blue suits. We know exactly what it's like to go around and to put that on display.
Well, thank you all so much, and thanks for the work you do.
Thank you so much. You enjoyed the conversation, and you all have a great day.
Take care.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the National Public Radio portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Wired.
Station, this is Wired. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Hi there. So these questions that I'm going to ask these came from Google searches. These are sort of the most searched questions on Google. So this is what the people would like to know. And if you could just first introduce yourselves, just tell me your names.
Sure. I'm Tim Kopra, commander of Expedition 47. We have Tim Peake. He's an astronaut with the European Space Agency and a British astronaut. And Jeff Williams is a fellow NASA astronaut and just arrived here just a few days ago. And we're back up to a crew of 6. We have 3 of our cosmonaut colleagues at the other end of station right now.
Thank you. And if you don't mind repeating the questions, they're short questions just before you answer, that would be awesome. So the first question from Google Autocomplete is, can astronauts whistle on the moon?
Can we whistle on the moon? Well, that means the real question is, can we whistle in a spacesuit? And it can be very difficult, actually, when you're outside doing a spacewalk, and it would be the same on the moon because in that case, you're breathing 100% oxygen, which means you're at a much lower atmosphere because you don't need to be at a higher pressure. So when you're at a lower pressure. So when you're at a lower pressure, whistling becomes a little bit more challenging. We certainly can whistle here inside the space station because we're at the sea level atmospheric pressure.
Can you demonstrate? Thank you. Can astronauts wear glasses?
So can astronauts wear glasses? Of course they can wear glasses. Jeff has his glasses on right now. I'm wearing contact lenses. Young Tim Peake doesn't need glasses, but we surely can wear them.
Can astronauts drink alcohol?
Well, astronauts can drink alcohol when we're training on the ground on planet Earth, but alcohol is not permitted on board the space station.
Can astronauts cry in space?
Can astronauts cry in space? Of course astronauts can cry in space. The water in space is different because it sticks to your skin. It's almost like this gluey substance that just has this ability to stick to your skin. So if you were to have a really big cry, then your eyes would just swell up with water instead of dropping off.
Can astronauts have piercings?
Can astronauts have piercings? I'm pretty sure there have been some of the female astronauts that have been up here, the ladies that have had pierced ears and that kind of thing. Other than that, I'm not aware of any. but I'm also not aware of any restrictions. So, but I would suggest if somebody gets a piercing, they do it on the ground, not here.
Okay. Do astronauts drink their own pee?
You know, thank you for asking us to repeat these questions. Do astronauts drink their own pee? Well, in a sense, yes. We have the ability to process water here, and which is an amazing thing, right? We take the condensate that the system collects up, the urine, and all that gets processed and then put out of a portable water dispenser, which is right over our head. So every day, that's pretty much what we do.
Do astronauts keep their suits?
Can astronauts keep their suits, their spacesuits? Unfortunately not. No, our spacesuits are quite valuable pieces of equipment. We have two spacesuits, one which is like a soft spacesuit we wear inside the Soyuz spacecraft for launch and for re-entry, and one spacesuit that we wear outside the space station if we get the opportunity to do a spacewalk. But no, unfortunately not. They're not personal items of equipment.
Do astronauts need passports?
Do astronauts need passports? Actually, when we come home, we do need passports because we land in Kazakhstan and we have to go through customs. And so our ground team makes sure that we have our passports so that we can actually leave Kazakhstan and go back to America when we're done.
Do astronauts drink Tang?
We do have a variety of drinks on board. The question was, do astronauts drink Tang? And of course, that comes from a lot of TV shows historically anyway. I don't think we have Tang specifically on board, but we do have lots of fruit juices and fruit beverages and coffees and teas and water, and even now milk. Everything you have to add water to it and mix it up, either hot or cold water, and then you're welcome to drink it.
Do astronauts vote in space?
Do astronauts vote in space? Yes, we can vote in space. In fact, NASA has been very good about setting up a process so that we can participate in the electoral process.
Do astronauts wear diapers?
Do astronauts wear diapers? Yes is the answer to that question. When we launch in the Soyuz, we have at least a couple of hours before launch sitting in that spacecraft, and then we have to go through a 6-hour rendezvous, and then we have to spend a couple of hours from docking until actually getting on board the space station. So we wear diapers for that. We also wear diapers when we go outside the space station to do a spacewalk. We could spend anything from 8 to 10 hours inside that spacesuit, sometimes longer. So we're beholden to take precautions and wear diapers just in case you need to use it.
Can humans colonize Mars?
Can humans colonize Mars? I think, of course, we can colonize Mars. It's both a technical and a political question because it would take a tremendous amount of resources, and that has to have the political will and the funding to do that. And then obviously we need to develop the technology both to get there quickly, land on the planet, and then be able to live there. But I'm certain that someday we'll be able to see that, hopefully in our lifetime.
Okay, thank you guys so much. This was awesome. That was what the crowd out there would like to know. One last question is just, I have two little boys who are 4 and 6 years old, and they would love to be astronauts. Do you have any last words of advice that you'd give to kids?
You know, every young person who has the aspiration to be an astronaut should study hard in math and science, follow their passion educationally, and be able to get along well with people. And if you can do those things, you'll be so competitive to become an astronaut, you'll be able to reach your goal.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes the event.